Swami Ramanuja composed and presented the trilogy of Gadyas that expounded the Vedantic philosophy covering the doctrine of Sharanagati, complete surrender to the Lord, and giving graphic accounts of Sri Vaikuntha, abode of Lord Sriman Narayana, including the path a prapanna, that is, a practitioner of complete surrender, must take to attain his final destination, the abode of the Lord. The Gadyatraya Swami presented, surrounded by his disciples in front of Lord Ranganatha and his divine consorts, are Sharanagati Gadya, Sri Ranga Gadya, and Sri Vaikuntha Gadya. Once Kongu a housewife, unable to comprehend the greatness and eminence of Swami Ramanuja, accosted him during one of his customary rounds for alms in Srirangam. Why would all the wealthy and powerful seek the blessings of somebody living on alms? Was the question that challenged her limited intellect. The spiritual effulgence of Swami, his compassion and teachings brought about a transformation in her as she realized the real meaning and value of life. Soon, Kongu along with her husband, became ardent disciples of Swami Ramanuja, and she was also fortunate to receive the padukas, that is, divine footwear of her master, in recognition of her unwavering devotion. Once, Swami Ramanuja, noting the shortcomings of the priest involved in the service of Lord Ranganatha, corrected him. In his resentment, the angry priest induced his wife to mix poison in the alms she offered to Swami. While sorting the bhiksha of the day, Swami's disciples noticed the poisoned food. The next day, infuriated by his thwarted attempt, the relentless priest poisoned the sacred water that he offered to Swami Ramanuja. Saddened at this dastardly act, Swami Ramanuja went on a fast to cleanse the mind of the malevolent priest. News of the attempt on Swami's life reached his preceptor, Sri Goshti Purna, who rushed to meet his cherished disciple. Swami, on hearing the arrival of his preceptor, ran, prostrating at regular intervals on the hot sand bed by the Kaveri river, and fell at Nambi's feet. Hurt that Sri Nambi did not command Swami to rise from the hot sand, Kidambi Achan, another disciple of Swami Ramanuja, accused Nambi as being more heinous than the priest who poisoned him. Pleased by this devotion to his guru, Nambi appointed Kidambi Achan as responsible for Swami Ramanuja's physical well-being. Swami Ramanuja was challenged to a debate by a sannyasi called Yajnamurti. 16 days of debate brought forth absolute victory to none. At the end of the 17th day, before retiring to bed that night, Swami beseeched Lord Varadaraja to guide him. Appearing in his dreams, the Lord referred him to Sri Alavanda's works. Swami thus defeated Yajnamurti in the philosophical debate and named him Arulala Perumal Emberumanar, who eventually became an ardent devotee and one of his chief disciples. Once, while delivering a discourse to his disciples, Swami Ramanuja's eyes welled up with tears, reminiscing the glory of Tirumala and how the holy shrine was now bereft of any dedicated caretakers who can carry out the daily services to Lord Venkatesha. Swami Ramanuja envisioned the sacred mountain filled with various fragrant flowers, but none to collect them, string them into garlands, and offer them to the Lord. This pained Swami Ramanuja, and he wondered, can't someone offer these beautiful flowers for the Lord? Then Sri Anantalvan offered himself to be of service to the Lord of Tirumala. Receiving the divine orders from Swami Ramanuja, Anantalvan and his pregnant wife began the Pushpa Kainkarya, service of offering flowers and garlands at Tirumala. One day, while they were creating a water body for the flower garden, Lord Srinivasa, in the guise of a young brahmachari, accosted the couple and offered his help. Enraged at the thought that someone was trying to steal his services, Sri Anantarvan threw the iron ram he was working with at the boy, hurting his chin. The boy went away with his chin bleeding. At the same time, in the temple, the priests were shocked to see the Lord's chin bleeding. Lord Venkateshwara informed all through a priest that the only way to stop the bleeding on his chin was to apply the soil touched by the feet of Anantarvan. When that soil was applied, lo and behold, the bleeding from the divine idol's chin magically stopped. Even to this day, in Tirumala, a paste of camphor is applied to the Lord's chin in memory of this incident. Such is the devotion of Anantarvan, the great disciple of Swami Ramanuja. There are many other incidents that demonstrate Anantarvan's supreme dedication to the cause of his master and the Lord of Tirumala. Noticing ants in his food packet during a travel, he assiduously went back all the way to drop the ants at Tirumala, as he considered every living being on the holy shrine of Tirumala as divine. He was so immersed and captivated in the service of the Lord that even the stinging bite of a snake went completely disregarded. The distressed and downtrodden found solace at the lotus feet of Swami Ramanuja. Here, Swami offers his very own turban cloth to Parittikkollai Nachiyar, who in a state of abysmal poverty had no decent clothing to wear and come out of her house. Parittikkollai Nachiyar considered serving the Lord's devotees as her foremost duty that she was ready to sacrifice herself to a lascivious businessman who demanded her body in return for money. Driven by acute impecuniousness, she had to offer herself to earn the money needed to buy food for the devotees of the Lord. Upon realizing the pristine purity of Parittikkollai Nachiyar and her unwavering dedication to the service of Swami Ramanuja and the Lord's devotees, the businessman who tried to exploit her goodness was mortified and submitted himself to her nobility, seeking pardon. Her immaculate devotion transformed the evil trader, who eventually mended ways to become a noble soul. Considering that walking on the holy mountain of Seshachala would tantamount to desecration of the holy abode of Lord Venkateshwara, Swami Ramanuja climbed up the mountain on his knees. Swami Ramanuja presented the chakra, Lord's divine discus, and the shankha, Lord's divine conch, which were in the custody of Tondaman Chakravarti, to Lord Venkateshwara in Tirumala. Lord Venkateshwara blessed Swami Ramanuja and retold how the Swami was granted the trusteeship of overseeing the affairs of both the Vibhutis of the Lord, the Leela Vibhuti and Nitya Vibhuti. Before leaving Tirumala, Swami Ramanuja blessed Anantarvan and his wonderful creation of gardens around the shrine of Lord Venkateshwara. Lord Venkateshwara never failed to oblige the prayers of Swami Ramanuja. Legend says that the Lord granted moksha to a cowherd lady who served milk and yogurt as offering to the Lord upon the request of Swami Ramanuja. The cowherd lady, upon surrendering to Swami Ramanuja, secured a letter from him addressed to the Lord. Swami Ramanuja's letter recommending moksha to the pious lady was good enough for the Lord to oblige without any hesitation whatsoever. One of the 5 chief disciples of Swami Alavandar, Sri Periya Thirumalai Nambi, was entrusted with the responsibility of teaching Ramayana to Swami Ramanuja. Sri Periya Thirumalai Nambi was given the title of Pitamaha by none other than the Lord himself, who once encountered him in the guise of a fowler and stole the water that was being fetched for the services of the Lord. In order to pacify the enraged Nambi, the fowler shot an arrow into the skies, creating Akasha Ganga, a divine stream. Ever since then, this stream has become the source of water for all the services of Lord Venkatesha at Tirumala. Govinda, Ramanuja's cousin, who was also undergoing his tutelage under Sri Periyathirumalai Nambi, was renowned for his service and compassion. He cared for the well-being of all and did not spare any efforts to even go to the rescue of a snake injured by a thorn. When Swami Ramanuja concluded his Srimad Ramayana studies under Periyathirumalai Nambi, his guru, come uncle, gifted him the companionship of Govinda. After accompanying Ramanuja to Srirangam, Govinda continued to miss his dear uncle, and once he travelled all the way back to Tirumala only to be told poetically, "Cow once traded or gifted cannot be taken back or fed," by Sri Tirumalai Nambi, who wanted him to be only in the service of Swami Ramanuja. After returning to Srirangam, Govinda was a much chastened man. He started to relish his tutelage under Swami Ramanuja, and soon he became a shadow to his master, serving him day and night. Govinda, fondly called Embar by Swami Ramanuja, overwhelmed by utmost devotion to his master, soon started to renounce worldly life. Driven by a higher cause and greater good, Embar implored his master to grant him sannyasa, and after testing his resolve, Swami Ramanuja finally granted him sannyasa. Before commencing work on his magnum opus Sri Bhashya, a commentary on Brahma Sutras, Swami Ramanuja, along with Kuresha and an entourage of disciples, embarked on a journey to Sharada Peetham in Kashmir in search of a valuable reference, Sage Bodhayana's Vritti Grantha, an exhaustive explanation and commentary on Brahma Sutras preserved there. Having secured the reference work, Swami and his entourage prepared to return home and rested for a night. Next day, they encountered few miscreants who, out of intense malice, decided to deprive Swami of the reference work and committed the dastardly act of stealing the valuable work. However, the treachery did not work against Swami Ramanuja, as his dear disciple Kuresha, gifted with an extraordinary memory power, had already managed to memorize the entire Bodhayana Vritti in one single night. Swami Ramanuja, with great delight, discovered that while the physical reference work was lost, it was miraculously preserved well in Kuresha's remarkable memory. Having secured all the required references on the Brahma Sutras, Swami Ramanuja then embarked on writing his magnum opus, the Sri Bhashya. Through the grace of Lord Ranganatha and Swami Ramanuja, two illustrious sons were born to the pious couple Kuresha and Andal. When Swami Ramanuja and Embar visited the blessed couple, Embar brought the babies to Ramanuja, and in the process he kept blessing them by reciting the Dvayamaha mantra in their ears. As Swami Ramanuja received the babies in his divine hands, he noticed their splendor and could also feel the fragrance of the Dvaya mantra emanating from the babies. Swami Ramanuja assigned Sri Embar as the Acharya of the infants and also named them Parashara Bhattar for sage Parashara and Vedavyasa Bhattar for sage Vedavyasa, thus fulfilling one of his promises made to Swami Alavandar. To the Bhattar brothers, the shrine of Lord Ranganatha was home away from home. As toddlers, they grew up in the Srirangam temple under the tutelage of the Lord himself. The precocious Parashara Bhattar one day encountered a haughty Sarvagnya Bhattar who, overcome by his conceit, visited Srirangam to debate with Swami Ramanuja. When little Parashara held some sand from the river in his hand and challenged Sarvagya Bhattar to give him a count of the sand, Sarvagya Bhattar was stumped and could not reply. Parashara Bhattar then told him, "This is a fistful of sand. You cannot even say this much, and yet you indulge in unabated self-glorification." What determines true erudition? What determines greatness? In order to illustrate to his sons, Parashara and Vyasa, that it is not age that governs one's true worth, Sri Kuresha prostrated to his juniors in age, Sri Embar and Sri Siriya Govinda Bhattar, who personified nobility and greatness. Swami Ramanuja travelled the length and breadth of the country, disseminating the true message of our scriptures. His travels reformed and transformed a good part of the country and paved way for the revival of Sanatana Dharma. Swami Ramanuja gave a new direction to the age-old practice of temple worship. He reformed some of them, reinforced some, renovated some, and substituted a few by new methods, without at the same time disturbing the fine fabric of tradition and convention. Swami Ramanuja made the temple a center of learning as well as worship. Tirukkurugai Piran Pillan was born as the second son of Periya Thirumalai Nambi. Thirumalai Nambi entrusted the boy's education to the care of Sri Ramanuja. Pillan studied Vedanta, Divya Prabandham and other Shastras under Swami Ramanuja. Here, Swami Ramanuja oversees the wedding celebration of Tirukkurugai Piran Pillan. Swami Ramanuja pays homage to Lord Anantapadmanabha Swami in Thiruvananthapuram. Once, Swami Ramanuja and his disciple Vaduganambi got separated on either side of the Mahendragiri hill during their travel in Kerala. Ramanuja on the Tirukkurungudi side and Vaduganambi on Kerala side. When Ramanuja woke up and called for his disciple, the Lord of Tirukkurungudi temple went in disguise as Vaduganambi and served him. As a usual practice, Swami Ramanuja, after adorning the Thirumankappu, the sacred marks that represent Lord's lotus feet, on himself, applied the remaining in his hands to the Lord in the form of Vaduganambi in front of him. After giving a helping hand with the arrangements of the daily puja, the Lord disappeared. Later, Swami Ramanuja saw the Thirumankappu, the sacred marks that he applied on Vaduganambi on the very forehead of the Lord, and realized how the Lord, out of immense compassion and love, is ever ready to even serve his beloved devotee. The Lord of Tirukkurungudi, who served Swami Ramanuja disguised as his disciple Vaduganambi, came to be known as Vaishnava Nambi, and thus Swami Ramanuja became the Lord's Acharya. Hence, Swami Ramanuja is seen in Jnana Mudra, that is, a posture of instruction even now at the temple of Tirukkurungudi. Underlying message is that even the Lord took the form of Vaduganambi to get an Acharya Sambandha association with Swami Ramanuja, the Jagadacharya, the teacher, the preceptor of the universe. After the completion of his peerless commentary on the Brahma Sutras, Swami Ramanuja, along with his disciples, embarked on a journey to Sharada Pitha in Kashmir in order to submit his work to Goddess Sharada. Swami Ramanuja visited the holy shrine of Badrinath situated in the Himalayas. Badrinath is the place of the sacred Ashtakshari mantra. Lord Sriman Narayana took both the forms as Nara and Narayana to reveal the Ashtakshari mantra to the world. The duo of Nara and Narayana are still doing the penance of Ashtakshari mantra for the welfare of all the living beings of this universe in the form of the mountains even today. It is said the goddess Sharada was very much pleased to hear his exposition of the mantra, Kapyasam Pundarikaksham. Swami Ramanuja's correct and sincere translation of the verse as the eyes of the golden Purusha are as lovely as the lotuses blossomed by the rays of the sun demonstrated not only his superior intellect but also his intense love for God. The goddess Sharada lauded Swami Ramanuja for his commentary on the Brahma Sutras and named his peerless work as Sri Bhashya. In appreciation of his incomparable commentary that captured the true intent of Vedavyasa, the goddess also presented Swami Ramanuja with a beautiful idol of Lord Hayagriva. Ever since then, Swami Ramanuja came to be known as Sri Bhashyakara. Swami Ramanuja visited Puri during the reign of Choda Gangadeva. Ramanuja had a deep interest in establishing proper temple worship procedures wherever he went. Tradition says that he tried to convince the priests of Jagannatha temple to stop the tantric style of puja they were following and adopt the scripture of Pancharatra. As the Pandas of the Puri temple plotted to kill him, the Lord arranged for Garuda to carry him away from Puri and shifted him overnight to Sri Kurmam.